Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to wherever you are. And thank you for tuning in for the meditation service this morning from the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Janelle Carroll, and I am a religious science practitioner here at the center. And I'm so glad that you're here. It's my great pleasure to be with you here this morning. As always, for our meditation, I invite you to take deep, slow breaths, center yourself. I am touching the earth where I am, and you are touching the earth where you are, and the space between us connects us in oneness. The oneness, the wholeness that is in spirit connects all things to one another, regardless of space or time or geography. So centering your breathing, knowing on each inhale, you inhale spirit, love, and life. You are breathing spirit. And with each exhale, letting go of anything, any problem, any tension, any worry, any care, any thought in your mind a moment ago. Breathe. Breathe into the calm. Release that monkey mind. Our theme this month, mindfulness. Mindfulness for mavericks. Our talk title this morning, mindful action. Mindful action. Mindful action. Ernest Holmes says, all movement begins in consciousness. All movement begins in consciousness. Mindful action. This morning, I invite you to contemplate action as doing and action as non-doing. Mindful action. Movement begins in consciousness. We often ask ourselves, what is mine to do? How does it shift with what is mine to be? What is it mine to be in this moment? What is yours to be in this moment? All movement begins in consciousness. Mindful action begins in consciousness. Mindful action begins within. What if mindful action is doing nothing but going within? We teach that it is the law that does the doing. It is our minds that does the knowing and the being. As we move into the silence, think on what is mine to be. What is mine to be in this moment? What is mine to know in this moment? Ernest Holmes teaches the secret of treatment is to truly know. And when you know like you know like you know, then you will see the demonstration. Mindful action. All movement begins in consciousness. What is mine to be? What is mine to know in this moment? Mindful action. All movement begins in consciousness. What is mine to be? All movement begins in consciousness. All action begins within. All experience begins within. Everything begins in consciousness. Mindful action beginning in consciousness. The power of doing nothing. The power of being. Mindful action as the power of being. Mindful action begins in consciousness, begins in stillness. It begins with that inhale, the breathing of spirit, breathing you, breathing as spirit, breathing you. Breathing in, aware of your breath. Breathing out, aware of the release. Breathing in, aware. Breathing out, aware. It is mindful action. Consciously, mindfully bring your attention to your breathing, to that in-breath, to that exhale. Find yourself touching the earth where you are, grounded and centered. Who are you to be? What is yours to be? That is mindful action. Breathing in and breathing out, return yourself to this space and to this place. Thank you for the time we have shared. Namaste.
Good morning. Welcome to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Joanie Bauman, and I'm a practitioner giving you the announcements today. Due to the current pandemic, we will be offering our Sunday celebration live streamed on our YouTube channel at Columbus CSL. And now for the announcements. Please join us on Zoom for our ongoing Wednesday Community Connections. See your CCSL Weekly Word e-newsletter for the Zoom sign-in or call the CCSL office. You can also find the Zoom sign-in on our Facebook page. Join us for our next Open Hearts Open Mic Talent Showcase on Friday, July 10th from 7 to 9 p.m. If you'd like to be a part of our production team, we're looking to add a few more champions just like you to assist in providing this fun and entertaining event. If you're interested and want more information, please contact Kristen Peairs at culinaire@gmail.com. For those of you listening on the phone, that's KULINAIRE@gmail.com for further information. If you'd like to be a featured performer or a virtual vendor on July 10th, please contact Jim Hetzer at jahetzer@sbcglobal.net. That's JAHETZER@sbcglobal.net. Join Reverend Gregory Toole for his new 5-week class, Untethered Soul, which begins on Saturday, July 18th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. via Zoom. This workshop will be based on the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and creates a clear pathway for trusting our own experience to lead us into greater spiritual depths and expanded freedom. If you'd like to register, please contact Robin at spirituallivingcolumbus.org. Now, if you would like prayer after service or anytime during the week, you can find our prayer practitioners on our website, columbuscsl.org, or you can submit a prayer request on our website. That's all the news for today. Let's sing our opening song.
Good morning. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. 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 We come together in the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. We come together. We come together in the name of love. Woo. Take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. 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 We come together in the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. We come together. We come together in the name of love. We come together. 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 We come together in the name of love. We come together.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We are an inclusive organization here at Columbus Center for Spiritual Living, and anywhere you are on your journey, we welcome you. My name is Kristen Peairs, and I get to do the talk today. So also, if you are not a subscriber for our YouTube channel, please do go ahead and press subscribe and ring that bell. And also, so you know, we post these services on our Facebook page after they're all complete for the day. So I would like to take this time to introduce you to the newly elected CCSL Core Council members. We have Margie Salmons as chair. We have Janelle Carroll as vice chair, Matt Vidal as treasurer, Mac Ware as secretary. And we have Robin Brookhouse as the director of administrations, Reverend Amy Papadopoulou as minister, and Reverend Gregory Toole as interim minister. I would like to thank practitioner Janelle Carroll for her wonderful meditation today, and I would like to thank the birds for their accompaniment. I would also like to thank Kristen Wilcock, thank you, for holding virtual high watch. And now I would like to reintroduce Joanie Bauman to the pulpit so that she can assist more today.
We now begin our sacred service. Ask yourself what problem you have right now. Not next year, tomorrow, or 5 minutes from now. You can always cope with the now, but you can never cope with the future, nor do you have to. The answer, the strength, and the right action will be there when you need it, not before or after, by Eckhart Tolle. Now let the music take us within.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy, we let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace, we let the peace, we let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love, the love wash over us. We let it be.
And as we contemplate these beautiful words, we let the love, I am conscious of Spirit's abundance, abundance in love, power, and inspiration. Spirit is the source of all creative thought and action. And as we are one with Spirit, the love, power, and inspiration of the one is present in me and present in all who are present here today and everywhere. What a shining force we are, each of us perfect reflections of the one. I claim that Spirit reveals itself to us today, and we grow ever more enlightened and aware of the power within. This light and love of Spirit radiates to all we encounter and shines forth as a beacon of hope and promise. And I know that this service feeds our souls and provides enrichment to our lives. I release this understanding of our truth into the law, knowing that it is already done. With a grateful heart for this loving and enlightened Spirit within, please join me in saying, and so it is.
In beauty, may I walk all day long. May I walk through the seasons. May I walk. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. On this path, may I walk through my life. May I walk in old age. May I walk. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk, 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 may I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. In joy, may I walk, in love, may I walk, in gratitude, may I walk, may I walk, in peace, may I walk, in peace, in stillness, may I walk, in forgiveness, may I walk, in loving kindness, may I walk, may I walk, in peace, may I walk, in peace, may I walk, 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 I walk in peace. May I walk in peace.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kristen Peairs. I am a religious science practitioner here at the center, and it is my pleasure to be your speaker for today. So thank you, Laura, so much for your song today. That I felt like you were singing right here in my dining room with me. It was just perfectly mindful and lovely. Our topic today is mindful action. And I want to begin by sharing my view of mindful action. And Robin, go ahead and put the first slide up, please. And so when that comes up, what you're going to see is not the CCSL mission statement, which I forgot to read earlier. You see that we have mindful, F-U-L-L, and mindful, F-U-L. And in our first panel, I wonder if you might identify with that version of mindful, because I know that I sure do sometimes. That's why I drew that picture. It's so much going on in the world, so much going on in life sometimes that my head spins and it'll feel like it explodes. And when I can go through that, the eye of the needle to move into mindful, my mind clears, my atmosphere changes, what's around me changes, everything. It feels more calm and more open and more available. So that's my first view for you of mindful. So we can take that slide down now. And moving on, what we have is we're going to go back to the quote that we started with that Joanie read so well. Ask yourself what problem you have right now, not next year, tomorrow, or 5 minutes from now. You can always cope with the now, but you can never cope with the future, nor do you have to. The answer, the strength, and the right action will be there when you need it, not before and not after. Not before and not after. So mindfulness is the art of putting yourself in a position of presence, of pausing, of taking a breath, of taking a break from whatever that thing is that sparked you. That mindfulness moment is that opportunity to slow down and get clear on what the next step will be. And because we're talking about mindfulness and action today, mindful action, there really is that next step. That next step could say, like Janelle said during her meditation, go inside. That's a step, that's an action. That next step could also say, go outside, take a walk, go do this thing that is yours to do. Mindful action. So how do we get from the swirling that can go around in our heads and around our heads to that place of mindfulness? Well, unplugging. And when I hear people talking about unplugging, I hear a lot of people saying, well, I've unplugged from the news. I don't watch the news anymore. I've unplugged from my cell phone. I've turned it off. I have hours when I don't look at it anymore. Or I hear people say, well, I don't hang out with those negative people. I unplugged from them too. And that's all well and good. That is a first step to unplugging. But the thing that's perhaps the biggest chaos starter is right here in between our ears. It is not the thing out there, it's the thing in here. It's how our brain, these little computers in our heads, it's how our brain interprets what's going on out there. And so for unplug, consider that the unplug to move into that mindfulness would be to unplug from your thoughts, your beliefs, and your judgments, to unplug from the interpreter that's going on in your head. And I want to say that Reverend Gregory is going to be doing a class on the untethered soul, and that particularly that book is excellent at helping you understand what's going on in your head and how to unplug from that. And so unplugging from our own thoughts, beliefs, and judgments, taking away the stimuli is an option, a starter option, but the deeper option is what's going on in here and how can I quiet that even as all of that out there continues to do its thing. And I touched on it a little bit earlier. We have this way about us as humans. We have reactions. This thing happens and I react to it. It's a stimulus reaction. And the thing with reactions is it often goes into the primal brain. It stimulates us to think, oh, this is a safety issue. This is something I need to go for right now. So a reaction is something that happens very fast without a whole lot of thought. And if we're moving into mindful action, we're actually wanting to move toward response. Response is where that thing happens and it pings our brain and we notice we want to do something immediately. But instead we say, oh, inhale more, exhale. We take a pause. We take a break. I take a pause. I take a break. And I let options move through my head. I let it move deeper. And then I choose from there and take action accordingly. So reaction is fast, fast, fast. Just think, go, or don't even think, go. It goes past the thinking. Response is let the thoughts work, but let the spirit work as well. Response, mindful action. And what leads us into reaction versus response in the first place? Well, as I talked with quite a few people before I wrote this talk, and one of the thoughts that came up was we human beings are reactive. It's how we survive or used to survive in the world for sure. Well, we grew up with our parents and our community and our culture, and we take that stuff in. There's imprinting that begins in utero, and as we're babies, that what's around us, we just start behaving like what's around us because it's safer. And then we start thinking, well, if that thing is different, then is that safe? I don't know. And as we grow up, we have the ability to begin assessing and deciding for ourselves whether the way we were taught to respond, the way we do respond or react in life, is that really what we think and believe now? So those reactions we have are often based in deep roots that go well beyond ourselves. They go into our ancestors. They go into the ancestors of humanity to keep us alive, to keep us functional. And now that we're independent, more independent, free thinking human beings, we can choose. And those moments of mindfulness that we take to help us choose could make the difference as to whether we continue an old pattern that doesn't serve us or humanity, or could take us in a whole different path, could help us grow and expand, not only ourselves, but what else, all the other things that are happening in the world that we want to see blossom more. We're powerful humans. So at Centers for Spiritual Living and Science of Mind, religious science, we believe that there is co-creation happening all the time. We have choice. If we don't like the experience that we're experiencing, we can shift within ourselves, and we can, and then the external shifts as well. Really, we are co-creators in what we're experiencing. And I'm here. I've been in the teaching for almost 20 years, and I love co-creating. I love knowing that I have the ability to create my experience. Yes, it takes time, and yes, it takes a lot of mindfulness, but I have that ability and I love it. And not everybody loves it. We're all at different points in that. And I like to think of it as we put up this next slide, Robin. I like to think of it as we have our own personal genie. And as we have a genie, we make wishes. And as we make wishes, those wishes are granted by the universe. And then there's Stan here, who he wasn't comfortable knowing that his every wish could be granted. So he put the genie back in the bottle. And that's okay. That's his choice. Go ahead and take the slide down. Thank you, Robin. Every time I see that image, it tickles me. And I'm so glad to have you share it with today. But it's our choice. We can consciously co-create, or we could unconsciously co-create. I prefer to be conscious and mindful about my co-creation. Moving into co-creation more deeply, because I'm not alone in this co-creation. I said we're part of this big spiritual universe that you can call God, you can call spirit, you can call it light, you can call it Stan if you want. It's all of creation, and I'm a part of it, and I am creating. So this next piece is about that co-creation process, getting beyond this mind and to the big mind for what's really possible. There's a book that I read called The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Stone Zander and Benjamin Zander. And I love this book so much. I taught classes using it. And in one chapter, they talk about basically moving from a consciousness of I and you to a consciousness of we. And moving to that consciousness of we brings about a thought, a thinking that is so much bigger than any of the one minds or any of the two minds could conceive, that something amazing started to happen. And in that same line of thought, we could also say, there's a quote from Albert Einstein that some of my practitioner friends, particularly Jay and Amy, helped me with yesterday. And Einstein said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we use to create them. And so we're going to put up my third picture for today, Robin. And this illustrates the principle from The Art of Possibility. And there's the I versus you thinking, and there's the we thinking. And let's put our attention on the I versus you. Where do you see that in life? I know that I see this nearly everywhere I look. It's so apparent and it gets so much attention. Republicans versus Democrats, this leader versus that leader, this child versus this parent, this husband versus this wife. I see it all over. It's all over. And when I look more closely, I also see it in myself, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. And then we can move to the we consciousness. Where do we see that in life? It's there. I know it is. I know that we play with it here at the center. I know individuals who play with it, but I'll tell you, it doesn't quite get the news coverage that the I versus you does. So in this segment of my talk, we're going to explore the I versus you and the we. And so remember, I versus you, head to head, getting nowhere, pushing against each other. We, one hand in the air, open up, both hands, two people, one hand in the air, up, and one hand reaching toward each other. So we can take that slide down now. And in this world where we see all the I versus you out there, and we react or respond to the I versus you, What is there? I ask myself, and I encourage you to ask yourself, what is there for you to do in seeing the I versus you? How do we even end that? Well, what I know is I have power to change me and only me. And so what I do is I start looking within. I look within myself for I versus you. And as I start looking within myself, I find I versus you. How do I identify I versus you? Well, I identify I versus you by recognizing when I am approaching life from I am doing this because other people think I should. I am doing this because I think I should be doing this, or I have to do this. So if we're saying I should do this and I have to do this, or even I could have done that, we are doing something other than what's in us to actually do. Let me say that again. When we are saying I should, or I could have, or I have to, and we're doing that, there's this piece of us that is not aligned. If it was aligned, we wouldn't be saying I should, we'd say I'm doing this thing rather than I should be doing this thing. I'm doing this because I should. There's the split, I versus you. What there is for us to do is something that is unique. What there is for me to do is what there is unique to me. That's the mindfulness part. What is it that it is in me that would move me into action in any moment? So a step in eliminating the I versus you that I see out in the world is going within myself and saying, where am I out of alignment? We've spent a lot of time this month and in past months and talking about how to align with what our highest purpose is here. It starts with noticing where we're doing what we believe we should do rather than what's in us to do. And sometimes what's in us to do is to go within and be quiet and listen for what's there. And recognizing when we're saying I should and following the I should rather than the desire in me wants to go this way. So this moving beyond the internal I versus you, it sneaks up on me all the time. Personally, it also sneaks up on me in my marriage. I don't know how many of you, I encourage you to wave your hand if you've been in relationship at any point in your life where you're with this other person. And there's that head to head, I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong, as my hands play puppets here. So in my marriage, I have a very strong mind and my husband has a very strong mind. And we have gone head to head plenty. And a big difference in this particular relationship is that my husband has found it fun to go head to head. He is a wonderful researcher and thinks it's fun. And then there's me, who's like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. It's exhausting just to think about trying to justify why I am thinking how I am. And as I'm saying this, there is no right or wrong. It's just like, interesting. Well, this head-to-headness really was disruptive, has been disruptive and difficult in our marriage. And so we went to counseling and learned new tools. We went to workshops, learned and practiced more new tools. And things, got marginally better, but it's still like feeling like we were working as a unit or even could work as a unit was just not working. And so we found ourselves at an immersive workshop. And we had an opportunity in this workshop to choose whether we were going to do an exercise together or whether we were going to do it separately. Now, every fiber of me was 100% clear that I would get the most benefit out of doing this exercise separately. 100% clear. My husband was 100% clear that he would get the most benefit out of doing this exercise together. 100% clear, two people, we had to decide, and we had 10 minutes to do it. This did not start out well. We talked, we argued, I cried, tears streaming down my face. I heard words coming out of his mouth that I had heard many times before, and this time they had even more impact. It was painful. And I heard words coming out of my mouth that I had said many times before that also never really got us anywhere. And it was really painful. And in that moment where I felt so much pain and upset, I am thinking, we cannot keep having the same argument again about different subjects. I don't want to be in this process anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of saying the same things and hearing the same things. Something has got to change. What's it going to be? And in that moment, I said, I need to pray. I need to pray. And it was in that moment when I did something different. I had the mindfulness to say, I don't want to repeat this anymore. I need something different. What's it going to be? And I called for prayer. That moved me to the we. From I versus you, head to head, to we. We, not with my husband, but to we within myself and with God, that higher power, that greater, more expansive power. I said, I don't know what the solution here is. Giving in isn't the answer for me or my husband. That leaves nobody being happy. So I said, let's pray. And I was prepared to go into this prayer 100% by myself, because I don't say, husband, you need to pray with me. He is an autonomous, independent human being. He gets to choose. And so as I began to pray, my husband put his hands in mine and we prayed together. We joined into that we of three in that moment. And as I did the treatment prayer, what became abundantly clear in me, what rose up and dropped in, was my greatest value in life is growth and expansion, and that my maximum growth and expansion for that coming exercise would be to partner with my husband. That clarity went underneath the roots of every argument I had in that moment and every argument I had had during our marriage. I no longer had any reservations about partnering with my husband for that exercise. And when we finished the prayer, I opened my eyes and with utmost integrity, I said, I will partner with you. And so we did. And from that we experience, my experience with my inner we, my outer we, and the we of our couple has changed me from the inside out. We is powerful. There was nothing before I did that prayer that would have convinced me that I needed to have a different perspective, or that I would be partnering with my husband would be the way. But what I had was faith and mindfulness to catch myself and to ask and to let in what I needed to hear most. So we is a magical place to be. We is a magical place to be. So when I look out at the world and I see marching and protests, violence, right and wrong style leadership, I start connecting with my inner we. And I start noticing where I am acting from what I believe I should do rather than what is in me to do. And I begin there by getting mindful and noticing and asking for the clarity and the courage to move into action on what there is for me to do rather than what I or someone else says I should do. And there's one last thing. There's one last thing that I want to point out for you. It's such an important component in moving from the I versus you to the we. And this one last thing is surrender. Now, there was a time in my life when I thought of surrender as something that only happened after the war was waged. There was fight, 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 fight. And one party was exhausted to the point of deep pain and anguish. And that's when surrender happened and the little white flag went up. And why, with that kind of picture in my head, would I ever want to surrender? Things changed for me with surrender when I stopped focusing on the pain that it would take to get me to surrender and started noticing the feel goodness, the sweetness of the results once I have surrendered. Because what I have found in my life is that as I have chosen to surrender at the first, well, as fast as I can catch it, at the first inkling of discord and pain, surrender into the we. As I have done that, what I found is there are miracles. The we-ness is big. The we-ness is big, and it's interesting and fascinating, and I value that. And I could not have known without experiencing it both ways, with the pain focus and with the sweetness focus. I prefer sweetness. What about you? So we return again to the mindful action. Mindful action requires a pause, an opening, a surrender, and then the receptivity to hear or feel or notice what arises. A pause might be all it takes for you. A pause might be all it takes. From the pause, notice what happens and go from there. Let yourself receive the gifts that are all around you. And that partnership has then begun. Let's take this into prayer. I am so grateful. I am so grateful in this time, in this place where there is only God. There is only God, and each person here is a part of this God. There is no separation. There is no separation between me and God and each person here. And I have access in this moment to the giant we. And I invite in each person to this giant we-ness. And I invite in the inspiration that I most need and the inspiration that each person here most needs, most desires, most wants, so that we can have this experience in life that brings us the most joy, growth, expansiveness, peace. Yes. I am grateful for each member of the service team. I am grateful to be here today. I am grateful. I lift it up. I let it go. And so it is.
Thank you, Kristen. That was a wonderful talk. Thank you. It adds a lot of clarity for me. So thank you.
A woman on the radio talked about revolution when it's already passed her by. Bob Dylan didn't have this to sing about. You know it feels good to be alive. I was alive and I waited. I was alive and I waited for this. Right here, right now. There is no other place I wanna be. Right here, right now. Watching the world wake up from history. I saw the decade end when it seemed the world would change in the blink of an eye. And if anything, and there's your sign of the times I was alive and I waited. I was alive and I waited for this right here, right now. I was alive and I waited. I was alive and I waited for this right here, right now. There is no other place I wanna be. Right here, right now. Watching the world wake up from the history. Right here, right now. There is no other place I wanna be. Right here, right now. Watching the world wake up from history. Right here, right now. There is no other place I wanna be. Right here, right now. Watching the world wake up.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was just wonderful, ending with a party. Woo! And now it is the time for the giving of our gifts. And thank you for all the ways that you're continuing to support our center. During these times, we are honored to be able to continue to be here to support you spiritually. And we appreciate those gifts. We appreciate those donations and tithes that you give to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. Your donations are important because it helps us fulfill our vision statement in helping create a world that works for everyone. As we engage with the law of circulation, we remember that God is our source and we are circulating Spirit's energy in the form of money by giving and receiving. Please say our affirmation with me. My gift goes forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does its good and perfect work and returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
Open up and be yourself. Open up and free yourself and shine that light. Speak your mind. Show them who you really are. Show them you're a shining star, a brilliant light. The week was long, but now we're lighting up so bright. Our open hearts show the love we
I am so grateful for our celebration today. All those who have lovingly prepared for the service and those who are participating. As Kristen said, we is a magical place to be. And I know that the gifts presented here are given and received with love, joy, and a sense of abundance of infinite source. Thankful that we are all one and for the many gifts we bring. Together we sing.
And so it is, and so we let it be. And so it is, and so we let it be.
And let's thank our musicians, Carissa Holmes, Laura Adair, along with Tony Bernardi, Steve Paracas on bass, and Joe Nelson on drums. Woo! I am so thankful for our musicians and all those who've collaborated to make the music amazing today. I also want to thank my talk collaborators, Joanie and Laura and Tony and Carissa, who provided really wonderful input on what mindful action was to each of them. I had a wee experience in creating this. It was just lovely. So thank you for everybody who made this service what it was today. If you are joining us for the first time, we welcome you. And we would love to send you a welcome packet in the mail with information about us. Please call the office or send a private Facebook message, and we will get that information right out to you. Also, if you're not receiving the information about services, please call the office or send us a private Facebook message about that. And so let's share our final blessing. Are we putting that up as a screen? I think we are. Okay, so there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now, and so it is. Thank you.
All right, let's keep the dance party going.
When I look at the world and my life and the people lighting up my day, I see help, I see love, I see strength, I see a promising new way. Oh no, it's not a secret, nothing hidden from you and me. It's simple, it's our community. When I look at the world and my life and the people lighting up my day, I see help, I see love, I see strength, I see a promising new way. Oh no, it's not a secret, nothing hidden from you and me. It's simple, it's our community. Sometimes the grass looks much greener on the other side. Oh, but we gotta water our own yard first. Sometimes our neighbor's garden looks out of control. Oh, but we gotta tend our own thing first. When I look at the world and my life and the people lighting up my day, I see help, I see love, I see strength, I see a promising new way. Oh no, it's not a secret, nothing hidden from you and me. It's simple, it's our community.
Peace, blessings. Have a beautiful week.